All right, a list a list of things you didn't expect to hear from me. Number 1, the Saints are 2-0. Number 2, the Steelers are 2-0, and number 3, the Patriots went to overtime almost 2-0. This is Pass the Rock.
Hey yo, could one of y'all pass the gosh darn rock? Hey yo, I'm trying, I ain't lying, and hosting this will be Brian.
Yeah.
Posting like Kobe Bryant,
Yeah.
flying to see the pilot.
Yeah.
Hit the hezzy, we got Jesse, opinions get kinda messy. A fan of out of lefties, from football to racing Becky's. He go silly when he go deep, sheesh, it's Zach Zeman. Teaming up with Jack, we stack the whole team, man. Pass the rock, don't stop the shot clock. Smack the slap shot, come on, now let's talk. Pass the, yo, partner, pass the rock. For real.
That was some wild 3D audio. I don't know what was going on there.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there either.
I think it was playing on somebody's phone or something with the reverb. I don't know. All right. That was crazy. This is my favorite type of show. The type of show when Zach is still nervous because his Eagles haven't played yet. All right. So he's got a little bit of angst, a little bit of in him, where Jack and I are feeling good. I'm sure even Jesse's feeling good with that overtime loss to the Seahawks yesterday.
I'm honestly enjoying it. To me, that's actually the best case scenario for the Patriots week to week. You put on a close, entertaining game for the fans. You stay competitive. You get some good things, some bad things in the game. But overall, you get a loss and get closer to getting Travis Hunter next year in the draft. So overall, if they could lose every single game in overtime this year, I would honestly be happy because it's a good football game. It's a good product, and they still get good draft capital. So that's a huge win, honestly.
Awesome. Jack, where are you on 0 to 10? How surprised are you the Steelers are 2-0?
0. I'm not surprised at all. This is the two wins the Steelers have had have been the two most Steelers wins in the history of Steelers football. They win the first game without scoring a touchdown, Steelers. They win the second game on the road in Denver against a rookie quarterback by the score of 13-6. Steelers football, of course they're 2-0. It's Mike Tomlin. They'll finish 9-8 the same way they always do. This is Steelers football. I don't think anyone should be surprised.
Yeah, the Saints, when I was in high school, were like that. Great defense, no offense. And you're like, just don't throw a pick six, and we have this. That's only reason we can lose. And I don't even know what to say. I know we're going to talk a little bit about Derek Carr. I don't know what to say about the Saints. I'm too shocked. I'm going to go to Zach and say, give me a score prediction for tonight, Falcons-Eagles.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about the Eagles' chances tonight. Kirk Cousins is worrying me. Noticed some changes from last year to this year that the coaching staff has made to a 35-year-old quarterback. Not very confident in his ability, let alone him playing on prime time. So I'm going to say the Eagles come away with a win. I'm going to say it's going to be 27-17.
I would enjoy
no
that.
No A.J. Brown either, though, so it could be a big
No A.J. Brown, so it's not going to be any higher than that. I really don't think the loss of A.J. Brown affects too much. I think Devonta Smith fills in as a wide receiver one. You can make an argument that he would be the wide receiver one on at least half of the teams in this league. He is a very talented route runner. He has phenomenal hands. I am very excited to see him get the ball a lot tonight.
It's affecting my fantasy team, though. That's the biggest problem.
Yeah, me too. I currently need Kyle Pitts to score 4 or less points to win my matchup. So
there's a chance. It's not a 0%.
I'm hoping for a signature Kyle Pitts performance where he just gets absolutely no looks from Kirk Cousins. So hoping for that. In my other league, I need 22 from Barkley. That's it, which I feel like is manageable.
That's definitely possible. We'll have to see.
Yep.
So, Brian, you said you don't want to talk about the Saints, but that's a shame because our first question today is actually about the Saints. So, starting off 2-0 this season, looking honestly even better last week than they did week one. True or false, the Saints will win the NFC South this season? And Brian, you get to answer it first.
Perfect. God, it's hard not to say true right now, but I know they're just going to break my back, so I'm going to say false. This team scored a touchdown or a field goal in its first 15 drives with Derek Carr this year so far. And I've just been sitting back amazed at what the offense is doing. The defense is, I already think, is a top 10 defense. So there's a lot going on here, but Tampa looks really strong. Atlanta, I think, is still going to be part of it. Carolina is going to be playing in the Sun Belt Conference next year, so not worried about them. But I'm going to say false. I just think the Bucs or the Falcons jump up and win it.
All right, Jack, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with what Brian just said. It's hard not to say true with the way the Saints have looked through the first 2 weeks. I mean, this offense has straight up blown my mind. I mean, it's not even in the realm of possibility of what I expected coming into the season. So yeah, like looking at the way they played, I would lean towards true, but at the same time, the Bucks to me have been almost equally as impressive. The way that their defense has played, the way that they played against Detroit this weekend, I've been stunned with the Bucks as well. I think they look like a really competitive playoff caliber football team. This division is going to be a lot better than people thought coming into this year. That's for sure. I think the Falcons also find a way to turn it around and be also a competitor in the division. I think for now, I would say false. To me, the Bucks would be the favorite at the moment. But I mean, the way the Saints offense has looked, give it a couple more games, they keep looking like this, they're going to be the runaway favorites.
So you guys both said it's hard not to say true, and you both said false. Interesting.
Because I'm equally impressed with Tampa. I'll put it that way.
Okay, Zach, what do you think?
I, along with you guys, am very impressed with Tampa, but I'm going to drink the Kool-Aid. I'm going to say it's true. I'm going to say the Saints will win the NFC South. They have looked phenomenal. I think this offense will eventually even out to some level, but if it's anywhere close to what they're producing now, it's going to be a top 10 offense in this league. The defense has really impressed me as well. Stopping an offense like the Cowboys, it's not the most dynamic offense, but certainly one that is feared by some teams. The Saints have really impressed me, and I think they're going to continue this stretch. The Bucks just look a little bit behind them right now. The Falcons have a lot to figure out, a lot more than we thought they needed to figure out. So I feel pretty confident saying that, right now, feel pretty confident saying that the Saints will win the South.
All right, so let's talk about the other team in their division, the Buccaneers. Big win, a playoff rematch from the divisional round of last year in which Detroit won that game, but it was still close, one-score game. True or false, the Buccaneers are a legit threat to the NFC, especially after beating Detroit. Jack?
I think this is true. I'm so impressed with the Bucs the first 2 games. And I was a little bit of a hater of the Baker Mayfield contract this summer. I thought they overpaid for him a little bit. I thought that he was a serviceable quarterback last year. Maybe not like a guy that you want to invest in as your future long-term starter. But through the first 2 games of this season, Baker Mayfield looks awesome. Like Baker Mayfield is playing like a top 10 quarterback in football. And I don't think that's crazy to say. This offense looks great. I love the way they've been utilizing Chris Godwin. He's looked incredible through the first 2 games. The defense, we know what we're getting out of the Bucs defense, a Todd Bowles-led unit. They've been one of the more consistent defenses in the NFL over the last 4 or 5 years, which is pretty unbelievable to say. I love the Bucs right now. I was so impressed with the way they played against the Lions. And I don't think you can look at the way they've played through the first 2 games and say that they're not a legit threat in the NFC.
Brian?
I'm going to say false. I don't think they're a legit threat yet. Just like I don't think the Saints are a legit threat to win the NFC just yet. Baker Mayfield's going to find a way. I don't know. I know they were close to beating Detroit in the divisional playoffs last year, but I just don't feel like this team's really got what it needs. And, especially with the running game, which they've been struggling a little bit with that. So I'm going to say no. I still think it's between Detroit, San Francisco, in that group right now. I have Philadelphia. I don't think you can say the Cowboys either yet.
Zach, any chance?
I think there is a chance. And I know I already said that the Saints will win this out. That doesn't mean that the Bucs are going to miss the playoffs. I think the Bucs are absolutely a playoff team, whether it's in the wild card or winning this division. I think they are absolutely a threat. I can very easily see them being a 5 or 6 seed that could upset a 2 or 3 seed. That is a very real chance. Sorry, what would that be? A 3 or 4 seed. My bad. If they're the 5 seed, they're winning that game outright. I feel like I feel like they can win that game. The Bucs are a legitimate threat. This is absolutely true. I know their next 3 games, you're going to have tests against Philly and Atlanta. I'm going to call Atlanta a test for now, but I feel like right now they're in a really good position, starting out really strong. They're going to be a team that we're going to have our eyes on all season long. I don't think they're going anywhere. I think we're going to be talking about them come January. I don't think they're going to win the NFC or anything. I don't think they're in the same tier, but it doesn't mean that they're not a threat. I think they're a threat to knock off one of those big teams like San Francisco, like Detroit, like Philadelphia. a team that underestimates them and doesn't play at the top of their game.
One of us suggested there might be 2 NFC South teams to make the playoffs before the season.
It looks very real. And if the Falcons could figure their shit out, my bad. If they could figure their stuff out, the Falcons would be in this conversation too. But I don't think they will. They have a lot of issues on that offense they need to address, and they start with Kirk Cousins.
All right, so let's talk about another team in the NFC that has been off to a rockier start, but had a very, very good week 2. The Arizona Cardinals absolutely pasted the Rams yesterday, 41-10. Marvin Harrison Jr. had more damage done in the first 4 minutes of the game than he did all of last week. And that's actually kind of where it ended for him. He really did not do much after the first quarter because they didn't really need to. They got up about 30 points in like 10 minutes in the game. So very, very good game for the Cardinals. Got to see pretty much the full extent of the offense. Everyone was doing everything. So true or false, the Arizona Cardinals will be a top 5 team in the NFC this season. So you got your Eagles, Niners, Lions, whoever wins the South. Arizona's right there at 5. Zach, I'll let you go first.
I'm going to say false, and it's not anything really against the Cardinals. There was just a lot of talent in the NFC. I'm taking the Niners, even though they have a really bad loss. I'm taking the Niners. I'm taking Detroit. I'm taking the Eagles. I'm taking the Saints right now. Saints look really good right now. I'm going to take them. If Jordan Love is healthy, I'm taking the Packers. Feel like there's 1 or 2 teams I could be missing there, but that's 5 right there that I'm taking. Jordan
Maybe
Love's
the
been an
Cowboys.
asterisk. Cowboys are so-so, but I think on paper I'm taking the Cowboys as well. So that's 5, maybe 6 teams I could still put ahead of Arizona, but that's not to discredit them. They've truly figured it out with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kyler Murray. I was very impressed with their win over the Rams. And the Rams are only getting weaker as well. It paves the way for them to finish second in that division right now. While the Cardinals have impressed me, I can't say they're a top 5 team in the NFC just yet.
Yeah, I wouldn't jump to say that they figured it out because in week 1 they had 0 offensive input from Marvin, and they figured it out yesterday, but that's still only a 50%.
Hey, James Conner has been cooking for me so far. They figured something out.
Yeah, the offense is definitely working. The defense had a better day yesterday so far. Jack, you're the Kyler Murray stan. What do you think? Top 5 in the NFC?
I'm going to say false on this as well. I do. If we're talking just offense, they absolutely have a top 5 offense in the NFC. They might have a top 5 offense in the NFL. Their offense is unbelievable. Kyler Murray, I thought, played the best game of his career yesterday. He looked every bit the part. He looked like a franchise quarterback. Unbelievable talent. Marvin Harrison had his breakout moment, which was awesome to see for them. I think this offense is explosive. I think it's dynamic, and I think it's going to win them a lot of games this year. The defense, on the other hand, not so impressed. They looked pretty good against the Rams yesterday, I will say, but you have to keep in mind the Rams didn't have Puka Nacua, and Cooper Kupp got hurt in this game. So that is a significantly hampered Rams offense. I think the Cardinals defense is still going to be a problem in a lot of games this year. I think that the Cardinals offense is going to have to win a lot of shootouts. They're going to have to perform the way they did in this game to win a lot of games this year. So yes, I do think the Cardinals have some upside. I think there's a chance they sneak in maybe as the 7 seed in the NFC in the playoff picture, but I don't think this defense is good enough to get the Cardinals into the real NFC contender category.
Brian, any different thought?
Yeah, I agree that they're a 7 seed at the top. Let me just say the next 4 weeks they're home against the Lions, home against the Commanders, at San Francisco, at Green Bay. So we'll see what they got. I mean, Green Bay, that might be the week that Jordan Love comes back. We'll see.
Yeah, if they could go at least 2-2, that would be good. If they could go 3-1 or better, then you might start taking them a little more seriously. Real quick, just some interesting trivia fun fact that'll come out in 20 years. Marvin Harrison became one of only 4 rookies to have 100 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns in the first quarter of a game, joining Allen Hurns, Torrey Smith, and Hollywood Brown. What a list.
Alan Hearns.
Alan
That's
Hearns and
crazy.
Hollywood Brown in 2019 in that week 1 game against the Dolphins where he just kind of went crazy. Shout out. Oh, also him and Rondale Moore, two of the only Cardinals to have 100 receiving yards in one of their first 2 games. So shout out Rondale Moore. Yeah, gotta love it. Currently a Falcon actually, and playing tonight. So go get your Rondale Moores out there. All right, we're gonna move on. Actually, let's do a different question before we talk about the Saints again, because we've been talking about them for a bit. How high is the panic meter for the Dallas Cowboys? And Brian, why don't you go first?
Let me just say this. The thing that would worry me the most is, that they got zero pressure on this Saints line. That was not supposed to be great. Now, I think they're playing better than what we thought in the offseason, but the Cowboys got no pressure. If they continue to get no pressure, that's just going to kill that secondary. I know that secondary gets a lot of picks and things, but I think it's because of what's happening up front. And that did not happen yesterday. The Saints ran all over them as well. So that's what concerns me for the Cowboys. I'm not worried if I'm them just yet. I think they just had they beat the you-know-what out of the Browns in week 1. So, they just had a kind of a weird day. Now that's 2 in a row at home that they've allowed an opponent to score 40 or more, if you count the playoff game last year against the Packers. So I'm worried, but I'm not overly concerned that this team is not going to end up making the playoffs.
All right, Jack, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Brian on that one. I'm definitely worried, especially about this defense, because the Cowboys' whole recipe for success is elite defense and good enough offense, right? If you don't have the elite defense, good enough offense doesn't get the job done. So that really throws off their entire game plan, the entire way that they win football games. So I think that it's very likely that this was just a really weird off week against a Saints offense that is clearly hot right now, that's clearly clicking, and your defense had an off night, and Deron Bland is injured. There were a lot of things that went wrong in this game for the Cowboys defensively that are potentially correctable down the road. But at the same time, you have to be a little bit concerned that if this defense is not going to be a top 5 unit in the NFL this year, then the Cowboys have a really serious issue, because that is how they win football games.
Yeah, the hard thing about the Cowboys, it feels like this team is not built to come back. It is very much a team that will play good defense at the start of a game, get a lead, and hold it. But it feels like every game where the Cowboys face someone competent enough to start strong and take a lead, that they have a very hard time getting back into the game. Zach, I know that you love to crap on the Cowboys. How high is the panic meter, do you think?
I love to crap on the Cowboys. And one thing I really want to point out with this team is that, especially offensively, this team just reminds me of how the 2016 Cowboys were built. You have Dak, you have Zeke. Yes, they have CD, but that's about it. It's built around them, and they're supposed to just win you games. It's just those two that's supposed to carry you to success. Zeke is a shadow of his former self, and that's a compliment. Dak does not look like the same quarterback we saw last year, where he was top 2 MVP candidacy for a lot of the year. If neither of them are going to play as well as they used to, this team, the Cowboys, should be worried. They should genuinely be worried. This is a team built for front running, not from playing from behind. They rely a lot on their defense. If the defense is not up to snuff, the offense is not going to bring you back into games. This team is built for front running. And if they can't figure something out, especially against the 0-2 Ravens that they're hosting this upcoming week, we're going to see some actual panic from Cowboys fans. I think right now, not too much to worry about yet. But if the trends continue, especially against a Ravens team that needs a win, then I think there's going to be some genuine concern setting in for Cowboys fans.
Yeah, you're just never going to win a game in which, the Saints tripled the rushing output of the Cowboys. Yeah. It was 190 to 68 yards rushing, which is just absurd.
If the Cowboys play the way that they did yesterday throughout the rest of the season, they might not even finish second in the division at this point. There's a legitimate chance we see Washington overtake them in the division, because the way they played yesterday was absolutely disgusting.
No, it's true. I mean, their only touchdown was CeeDee Lamb juking 2 tackles on a 65-yard touchdown. The offense did not come close to putting up any points in the red zone the entire day. Honestly, the best fantasy player of this season might as well be Brandon Aubrey, because he's going to have so many opportunities, because this team cannot move the ball into the end zone, and he can kick from about midfield. So as long as they get over the 50, he can throw up a field goal. But this team is just, they're really feeling the lack of a running back and not going out and getting someone. I wonder how long it is before we actually see Dalvin Cook start getting some reps, because, I mean, Rico Dowdle's your leading rusher with 30 yards. I don't know why the hell Zeke is your RB1 on the depth chart. It's all over the place right now. And yeah, they do have the Ravens next week. So honestly, it's like the two teams that are supposed to be good dumpster fires facing each other. So I guess we'll get to see who writes the path. Luckily, they get the Giants and then the Steelers, but then the Lions and the Niners right after that. So it's going to be a fun stretch of football for the Dallas Cowboys moving forward. All right, let's talk about the New Orleans Saints once again. We're going to look at Alvin Kamara. So Alvin Kamara is, I'm not even going to check. I believe he is currently the RB1 in fantasy. That is pending Saquon Barkley's game tonight. If Saquon gets more than 30 points tonight, again, he had 32 in week 1, I believe he will still be the RB1, or he might need like 33 or something. So Alvin Kamara had 20 in fantasy last week. He had 44 yesterday, depending the format you're in.
Hey,
so
don't discount a Bijan 50 piece.
Yeah, that is true. Bijan could get 50 tonight, or CMC comes back from the grave somehow and puts up 6 touchdowns. So the question for today is: would you rather Alvin Kamara or, and this is fantasy football, Josh Jacobs? And we'll go Brian, Jack, Zach.
I'm going to say Alvin Kamara. I just love what's going on with this Clint Kubiak offense and how they move him around and move everybody else around so much. I like Josh Jacobs. I don't love Josh Jacobs, especially without the threat of an actual quarterback. So give me Alvin.
Yeah, definitely Alvin Kamara for me too, especially because of what he does for you in the receiving game. Josh Jacobs is kind of a one-dimensional player. He's not bad, but he's a little bit one-dimensional, especially when it comes to receiving. So give me Kamara.
Like Jack alluded to, Kamara is a well-known PPR merchant. I feel like that's going to give him an edge for a lot of this. Just the fact that he is involved in the receiving game and gets a lot of catches as well. Give me Alvin Kamara.
Surprisingly, I think he only had one catch yesterday. Yeah. Or two.
Still
went for 65 and a touchdown.
One catch for 65 yards is still getting pretty involved in the receiving.
Well, it was one screen pass, but yeah. So anyway, I'm not here to discount that. I'm just saying the funny thing is they've actually this year, more than anything, have started actually using him as a running back. He has 4 rushing touchdowns this year. Last year, he had 5 the entire season. He hasn't had more than 5 in the season since 2020 when he had 16. So we'll see if he can get back to those numbers. Devon Achane.
If you could promise me that when Mostert comes back, Devon Achane is still going to get 20 touches, I might take Achane, but I don't think that that's a guarantee. So Alvin Kamara.
I 100% agree with what Brian just said. If Achane was a consistent RB1 getting a bell cow workload, I would probably take Achane. But given their situations, it's going to be Kamara for me.
Yeah, it just sucks knowing that Mostert's still in waiting behind him. Give me Kamara.
Not to mention they are currently quarterbackless. So
yes,
I don't know if that actually helps the stock or not.
That doesn't help.
That might actually help them.
It actually might, though. Like you saw, the Packers ran the ball like 48 times this past week, and Achane actually could have more carries with Tua out. But we'll see. James Cook coming off his best game.
I never would have thought I would choose James Cook in this Would You Rather. But just because of the lack of receivers that the Bills have, I'm going to say James Cook. I just think he gets a ton of opportunity. He's going to continue to get a ton of opportunity. And as awesome as Kamara's looked, there's so many other weapons on that team that I think eventually he'll have games where he's a little less. So give me Cook.
Only Brian is arguing how many weapons the Saints have.
Yeah. I thought James Cook looked great. I won't deny that, but I just have been so impressed with the way the Saints have used Kamara, especially moving him all around the field. The versatility of him as a weapon. I just think he brings more dynamism in that department than James Cook ever could. And that's just such a fantasy asset. So I would have to take Kamara.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards Kamara as well. This one's pretty close. James Cook has really impressed me, but I'm going to go with Kamara.
Yeah, James Cook just had his best game of his career, and Kamara had a better game. So it's funny. Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I looked ahead on this, and I had to pick James Cook there because I don't know if I'm picking anybody else against Kamara. It's definitely not going to be Derrick Henry. I don't think that offense has a clue as to what they're trying to do, and he hasn't looked great within it. So give me Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be Kamara for me. Derrick Henry to me has looked kind of slow, to be completely honest, this year. He had a couple of those beast mode runs at the end of the game this past week. But I don't know. He looks like a little bit of a shell of his former self, and Kamara looks rejuvenated. So I'll go with Kamara.
Wow, shocking. The 30-year-old running back switching teams struggles in his first year with the new team. He struggles. Are you kidding me? Yeah, I feel like we should have seen this coming with Derrick Henry. I was saying last year was going to be his last elite year. That was going to be last year. Looks like I've been proven right so far.
Oh, my God. Don't victory lap just yet, buddy. He had a touchdown on the first drive of the season.
We'll see. But right now, I'm just saying people are drafting him with a second-round pick or whatever, second-round pick. He's not playing like that right now. I'm taking Kamara.
I don't think anybody in the second round is playing like a second-round pick right now, honestly.
Yeah, no, seriously.
Pretty putrid.
Weird year of fantasy so far. Weird year.
Yeah, honestly, it'd be fun to go down the line of the top 20 picks in fantasy and see who's actually doing well so far. I think the only answers to that are like Lamb has been fine. Tyreek was good, and now his quarterback's out. Like McCaffrey's
Saquon.
out. Jefferson
Jettas.
Saquon's been good,
Yeah,
but TBD tonight.
Brees Hall's been good.
Yeah, so it's definitely hit or miss. I mean, well, we'll see what happens. The Ravens are in a weird spot, though. Next up, Kyren Williams.
Kyren Williams is tough because he played without one wide receiver on his team this week, and then the other one went out early. If those guys are out, he is a dud in fantasy. If one of them's out, he might be a dud. So I'm going Kamara on this.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Kyren looked brutal this past week. Not that there was much room for them to run the ball. So I guess you can't entirely blame Kyren for that, but either way, in fantasy, Kamara just has so much more opportunity right now.
Just because Kyren Williams might get 30 to 40 touches a game doesn't mean that it's going to go anywhere because the Rams' game plan would be too predictable at that point. I'm going with Alvin Kamara.
James Conner.
Connor's looked really good. I don't think I can take him over Kamara just because of, injury potential, but it's close. But I'm going to go Kamara.
Yeah, James Conner is one of those guys that to me, when I watch him, I'm just so thoroughly unimpressed. And then I look at the stat sheet and I'm like, oh my God, he had an unbelievable game. So I just have the weirdest James Conner experience. I had to mention that. But as far as him or Kamara, to me, it's Kamara. Kamara is just such a versatile weapon in the passing game. Conner is not really a passing threat. Got to be Kamara.
Yeah, James Conner, while he has been cooking for me, Alvin Kamara right now has been on a whole nother level. And there's no world where I'm choosing James Conner over Alvin Kamara right now.
I think James Conner is definitely a guy who can really get you 20 points every week. I don't know if he has a ceiling anywhere close to Kamara getting 44 yesterday. Like, I don't think I could ever see James Conner getting 200 yards and 4 touchdowns in a game. He could definitely get 102 touchdowns. I don't know if he could get 204 touchdowns. Jordan Mason starting for CMC.
This is a great opportunity for me to say that I've beaten both Jack and Zach the last 2 weeks of fantasy. Secondly, Jordan Mason, awesome. They are definitely feeding the ball. Really impressive. Not on Kamara's level.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say no to a Niners running back that is acting as a bell cow while CMC is out, but I do think I have to take Kamara with the way that he's played. It's hard not to take Mason, though, in that offense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look, as good as Jordan Mason has looked, he's still no Christian McCaffrey. I'm going with Alvin Kamara.
Jonathan Taylor.
That's a tough one. I think Jonathan Taylor's going to get a lot more volume as it relates to running the ball, but Alvin's always going to beat him as far as catching the ball. And let's remember, Kamara was a top 2 running back for many years, up until last year, or the year before. It's hard, but and I wouldn't have drafted it this way, but I would pick Kamara right now over him.
Yeah, this one is definitely the toughest one for me. I think I might lean with my guy JT. I'm just such a big fan of his and the way that he plays football, and I think his opportunities are only going to grow as this year goes on, and especially as we see in this past week with the potential unreliability of Anthony Richardson's arm as far as consistency goes. I think the Colts are going to lean more and more into the run game, and I just love Jonathan Taylor's talent as a running back, so I'm going to lean with JT.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor is very solid, and he probably will get a lot of opportunities. But at the same time, he's consistent, but I find myself consistently underwhelmed by Jonathan Taylor whenever I have him in fantasy. I expect him to have the home run potential, and he seems to always fall just a little bit short of it. So because of Alvin Kamara's potential to go off one of these weeks for 25, 30, 40, 45 points, I'm going with the home run potential. Give me Alvin Kamara.
Sorry, someone in the chat here just tossed the question in that they said that they're ducking the question, that we're ducking this. Someone said, you have prime Marshawn Lynch and a North American black bear on your team. Who do you want running and who do you want blocking? I think you definitely want the bear blocking, and Lynch. Yeah. I don't know how good of a blocker Lynch is, but he can sure as hell run.
I wanted the opposite. I wanted the opposite.
They're good
runners. It doesn't matter. What are you going to do?
I don't think it matters. The bear is eating someone one way or another.
The Bears got to be the running back, because if Lynch is the running back, somebody could potentially get around the bear, and then you can tackle Lynch. If Lynch is blocking, nobody's tackling the bear either way. That's how I'm running it.
Yeah, but the bear would be the best blocker of all time. No one's getting near the bear.
Can't block 11. You send 11 guys at a bear, one's getting past. It's ugly for the other, at least 6 of them, but.
I don't know. I definitely think you want the bear blocking for sure, without a question.
That's crazy.
That's just me though. We are going to move on though. Let's talk about the Carolina Panthers. We've done a lot of NFC South today. I guess it's been interesting. So Bryce Young has been benched. Is this officially the worst trade of all time?
I'm going to throw a few hats in the ring here. There are some really bad trades out there. I'm going to say the worst trade in NFL history is still the Herschel Walker trade. That trade literally led to a dynasty for the Dallas Cowboys. I don't think that trade can ever be topped in how bad it was. But an honorable mention from more recent times also involves the Bears. Them trading up one spot for Mitchell Trubisky was a pretty bad trade. I don't know if it's as bad as Bryce Young, but that was a pretty bad trade as well, because the Niners were never going to take Mitch Trubisky anyways. It made no sense for them.
Yeah, I've got 2 more hats to throw in the ring that are both somewhat recent. To me, the worst trade of all time is the Deshaun Watson trade. Nothing will ever top the Deshaun Watson trade, just because of the player that they got in return, and the person that he is, and the contract that they gave him, and everything involved with it, and how horribly it's panned out. It's one of the dumbest decisions I've ever seen a team make. It was dumb in the moment, and it's only gotten dumber over time. And I would also throw the Trey Lance trade in the ring. That was the decision to give up 3 first-round picks for the Niners to move up for Trey Lance. Given the way that team operates and the way they can succeed with most competent quarterbacks running that offense, they did not need to go all in to get a quarterback. They did it anyway, and the guy they got was just not it. So I would say those 2 are worse than the Bryce Young deal.
So just as a reminder, the Bears received, in exchange for the number 1 pick, it was DJ Moore, the Darnell Wright, Tyreek Stevenson, Caleb Williams, Torrey Taylor, and a second-round pick.
Yeah.
So that is, quite a lot of players.
It's pretty bad. They might have to move on from Eberflus to really benefit from all those assets eventually. There was some real dumb things he did in the game. Like some of the calls that he challenges, I'm like, that was obviously a catch by the other people, whatever. But I'm going to throw one more trade in you, and I promise I know ball other than the Saints. But Ricky Williams being traded for an entire draft plus a first and third the following year did not yield a championship for Washington, but one of the dumbest trades in the history of the NFL. And I'd like to just throw it in the ring. It may not be worse than Bryce Young, but it's pretty close.
I'll throw in one honorable mention. I think that the deal for Russell Wilson from the Denver Broncos was an all-time horrible move. And it might not look like it because it happened at the same time as like the Watson thing, and it just kind of got covered by it. But they gave up so much, and they also gave him so much money just to then cut Russell Wilson the following year.
Yeah.
But this is what they gave. So the Broncos gave up Drew Lock, Shelby Harris, Noah Fant, 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and a 5th-round pick. So those picks turned into also
so
Charles Cross, who's an offensive tackle, Boya Mafe, Devon Witherspoon, Derek Hall, and then a 5th pick that was traded, plus Shelby Harris, Noah Fant, and Drew Lock, all for 2 years of Russell Wilson just to cut him. And now you're stuck with Bo Nix. So
yeah.
I think that one's got to be up there.
Christian McCaffrey
too,
for a second and a 5th wasn't a great move by the Panthers.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad trades that have gone on, but I guess we'll see. I mean, Dave Canales did say that this was their quarterback, and I guess
he needed a breather. I don't know what that is. That was a weird quote.
Honestly, he might honestly think that there is no good that can come from putting Bryce in more games at this point. It's like,
I actually think that might be true. The best thing for Bryce might just be don't throw him out there behind this awful offensive line anymore. He might not be a good quarterback in the NFL, but he's certainly not going to get better by getting killed out there every week. So I actually don't hate that philosophy.
They're at the Raiders next week, so that's not a defensive line I don't think you want to go against. But
I do not need to see Max Crosby bashing Bryce Young for 4 quarters.
Yeah, if Lamar had trouble with that team, how do you think he's going to fare? Probably not very well. Yeah. Okay, we're going to move on. So which 2-0 team do you believe in the most? The Chargers, Vikings, Steelers, or Seahawks? Of these 4. We'll go Brian first.
Definitely the Chargers. I was telling you guys 2 weeks ago that this team is sneaky, all right? And the resurgence of J.K. Dobbins gives them a chance. Now, they still have no players to throw to, and their schedule has been super easy. So we'll see where it goes from here. But I love that I have a lot of J.K. Dobbins, and I think he's the key to their 2-0 start.
I'm going to go with the Vikings. This team is sneaky. The Minnesota Vikings, that offense, Kevin O'Connell, to me, is one of the most underrated head coaches in the league. I think he's an offensive guru. He's an absolute genius of a play caller. And the emergence of Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold looks like a solid to good NFL quarterback through the first 2 games of this season, which is probably a lot better than the Vikings were expecting when they signed him. And that is an awesome thing for this offense. It's an awesome thing for Justin Jefferson. It's an awesome thing for Jordan Addison when he gets healthy. If this is the Sam Darnold we're going to be seeing this season, this is a legit borderline top 10 offense with a solid, at least average to above average defense, which makes this a playoff contending team. If that's the way that this team is going to look. Now, could things change? Yes, it's only been 2 games. But through the first 2 games, I am very impressed with this Vikings team.
Yeah, and I'm going to go with a team that might be the sneakiest of them all. I'm going to go with the Seahawks here. With their 2-0, very sneaky, close games, but Geno Smith has really impressed me so far. Threw for over 300 yards yesterday, and I know their rushing game is extremely limited right now, but the way that Geno Smith has been throwing the ball through the air, the way he's been slinging it, it's really impressed me. I think this is a Seahawks team that will be a hard-fought victory for any team that beats them, and a really close loss for any team that that loses to them. I feel like this Seahawks team is built to fight until the end of every single game. All their games are going to be close, and I think they're going to have a very successful season with that formula. They're going to make every game tight, but I think it's going to result in a lot of wins.
So Jesse has to defend the Steelers.
There is absolutely no way that it is the Seahawks, by the way. They narrowly beat the Broncos and then barely beat the Patriots in overtime, who kind of beat themselves because they had a field goal to win it, and then the kick ended up getting blocked. And then they didn't go for it on 4th and 1 another time. It just kind of gave the Seahawks the win. But
Maybe
scraping by 2 of the bottom 5 teams in the NFL to get to 2-0. I have zero faith in the Seahawks. I would of all these teams put the most faith actually in the Chargers as well. Even though they've also beat 2 mid-level teams. I mean, the Raiders just beat the Ravens, so the Chargers are better than the Ravens, I guess. Who knows? But I actually think that they have a good formula to win. They have to run the ball, not play stupid, and lean on that defense. And honestly, I think that they have the best chance to actually make some noise at any of these teams. The Justin Jefferson injury is not supposed to be bad, but if he's out, I mean, that offense is down at the top 3 playmakers at the receiving position. With Hawkinson and Addison already out, then you lose Jefferson again. I mean, Jalen Naylor is going to be a popular name on your waiver wire this week. So we'll see about that, but I'm definitely not taking the Seahawks seriously, especially I watched most of that game. Hell no. But let's look at the other end of this kind of the same spectrum. So which 0-2 team has a chance to turn it around? The Ravens, the Jags, the Bengals, or the Rams?
Well, this is sad because the Ravens and the Bengals were in my AFC Championship, and they're both at 0-2. And even though you have 15 games left, 0-2 does not lead to
apparently
playoffs.
You have per the NFL, you have an 11% chance of making the playoffs after you start 0-2. So let alone getting to a conference championship, even making the playoffs is going to be a tough road.
Yeah, that's what's so bad about the Bengals losing to the Pats in week 1 and then coming back and playing a decent game against the I don't think the Chiefs looked unbelievable yesterday, but they lost it. So I'm going to go with the Ravens. I'm just going to go with talent, and I'm going to say Lamar Jackson can get something done for them. Their defense always finds a way to be competitive, and I think this is a total fluke. However, they have a tough schedule coming up, starting with the Cowboys next week in Dallas, and you know that team's going to be nice and pissed off and ready to play. So, but I'm going to say the Ravens. I think they turn it around and they'll be able to make some noise in the AFC.
All right, Jack.
I'm going to take the Bengals. To me, this team was a dumb Jamar Chase penalty, an Evan McPherson missed extra point, and a questionable pass interference call, or was it pass interference? Yeah. And a questionable pass interference call away from beating the Chiefs at Arrowhead. I mean, that is a pretty impressive loss if you can find one in the NFL. I thought Joe Burrow played awesome yesterday, a lot better than week 1. And they should be getting T. Higgins back, if not this week, next week. So things are looking up to me for the Bengals. I know they're 0-2, but I thought this past week, this loss against the Chiefs is about as impressive a loss as you can have in the NFL. And I think they're going to turn their season around.
Yeah, I'm with Brian on this one. I'm banking on the high-end talent of the Ravens, and I think they are the team with the most likely chance to turn it around. Lamar Jackson in the regular season usually wins at the same rate that Tom Brady did, at least so far in his career. I think behind Lamar Jackson's leadership, and that defense is a very good defense as well. Let's not forget about them. They haven't looked their best so far. I think they especially can turn it around. Give me the Ravens as the 0-2 team that turns it around. And maybe, Brian, just maybe, they can still make your conference championship.
We'll have to see about the Ravens. Zach, do you have to jump now?
Yeah, I do have to jump. Thank you, guys.
We'll continue on in your honor. We will see you on Thursday, and we'll finish out Go Eagles.
All right, signing off.
Go Eagles. I
Just
agree
kidding.
with that
Go
one.
Falcons. Now that he's gone, go Falcons.
No, still go Eagles.
True. I guess you would cheer for them. Let's talk about college football. So Texas is number 1 in the AP poll. Is Arch Manning the truth with Quinn Ewers going out?
I mean, looks like it to me. And it looks like Texas is about to have a pretty good problem to have, I would say, when Quinn Ewers comes back in what sounds like a week or two. Arch Manning looked awesome in this game, and he did not look like your typical Manning quarterback. He had a 60-yard touchdown run where he looked like he had wheels, like that. He was moving on that touchdown, and that was not your typical Manning quarterback play. So I thought Arch was super impressive in that win. I think he is going to look really impressive again this week. I think they're playing like Louisiana Monroe. He should feast in that game.
The Warhawks.
Yeah, so I'm assuming that Arch Manning is going to look really good. And Texas might have a decision to make when Quinn Ewers gets healthy. I think Arch is going to throw his hat in the ring. They've got 2 legit, really good quarterbacks on this team. And they look like national championship contenders for sure. I'm excited to see them get into some of the more tough games on their schedule with the Red River rivalry against Oklahoma coming up and then the game against Georgia the week after that. So they're going to get tested soon, but they've got a pretty good problem to have right now.
There was only one person who played football that looked faster than Arch Manning this weekend, and it was the referee running with Justin Jefferson as he scored his 97-yard touchdown. That guy had some serious wheels. He actually stopped in the middle of the field and still beat everybody to the goal line. Anyway, I think the problem with
the Vikings, the Vikings need to look into getting that guy
Yeah,
to replace
exactly.
the receivers that are all injured on their team.
He was so fast. I couldn't believe that. Here's the deal. Texas plays UL Monroe and then Mississippi State the next 2 weeks. And then, like you said, they have Oklahoma, then Georgia. I think Ewers is going to be back just in time for those big games. And no offense to Manning, but, you know, he was on the cover of College Football 25. Like, he's going to come back. And this isn't a Tom Brady situation. And then next year, it'll be good because Manning will have had all this experience and then, you know, gets the team to himself. So.
All right. So before we talk about week 3 waiver wire, which is what we'll get onto just in a second, I'm seeing a name just added to the list here and looking at some things on Twitter. I'm interested. Is it time the Chiefs bring back Kareem Hunt with Isaiah Pacheco being out 6 to 8 weeks? What do we think?
Yeah, I mean, I just threw that on the bottom of the list there. I just read a tweet that they're bringing in Kareem Hunt for a visit to work him out. I mean, 6 to 8 weeks is a long time. And Kareem Hunt, we've seen this guy dominate for the Kansas City Chiefs in the past. I don't think there's any harm in them signing him, giving him an opportunity to play, at least seeing what he's got left in the tank. And you bring the guy in and he looks good. That's going to be a fantasy asset. A good running back in this Chiefs offense is a really, really nice player to have. We've seen how good Pacheco has been for this team. We remember how good Kareem Hunt was when he was their starting running back. Even if he's a shell of what he once was and he is the Chiefs starter, this is going to be a guy you want on your fantasy team. So I think it's well worth jumping on it now before he's signed, before there's any official word. Just get this guy on your roster. Take that swing.
I will say, so apparently the Chiefs CEO, Clark Hunt, no relation to Kareem, made his feelings clear that in 2018, that was the end of the road for Kareem Hunt with the Chiefs organization because they released him after the whole thing off the field. I did not see anywhere that they've officially brought him in to have a workout. Did you see that on Twitter?
Yeah, I just saw. Give me a second.
Because I saw that there's been talk that they might, but I haven't seen that he's actually officially been invited anywhere.
Adam Schefter just now, with running back Isaiah Pacheco expected to be sidelined for 6 to 8 weeks, the Chiefs are bringing their former running back Kareem Hunt back to Kansas City for a Tuesday visit per league sources. Hunt could help fill the Chiefs running back void.
Okay, so interesting. So the article I'm reading says that for now, they will likely move forward with who they have on the roster, but it is a real possibility that they look outside who they have now. They currently have, what's this guy? Carson Steele, undrafted rookie formerly, and Samaje Perine. I guess we'll talk in a sec about which way we would rather go in that direction. But this is going to be interesting because the Chiefs, it was looking like Isaiah Pacheco was going to be one of the last bell cows in all of fantasy. Now that might dissolve back into a committee. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is still on the inactive list because he's dealing with some personal stuff. So who's to say if he comes back, 2 games from now, he could theoretically be active week 5. But we don't know. So let's move on officially and do our waivers. So week 3 waiver wire, starting with the Chiefs running back, Isaiah Pacheco, out 6 to 8 weeks between Carson Steele and Samaje Perine. Which way are you leaning, Jack?
I mean, between Carson Steele and Samaje Perine, I would go Carson Steele. I haven't seen anything from Samaje Perine that has wowed me. That's been like, this is the Pacheco replacement. This is the guy they're going to lean on for the next 6 to 8 weeks. He hasn't been that impressive. The Chiefs really like Carson Steele. He was an undrafted free agent. He made the 53. We saw him get playing time even when Pacheco was healthy and in there. So this is clearly a guy that they like, a guy that they wanted to get on the field, even with Isaiah Pacheco in there. And now with him out, I personally think that's the direction that they're going to lean. I trust Andy Reid. I trust his eye for talent. And if he likes Carson Steele, I like Carson Steele. So I think that is definitely the way to go between those two, especially when you're picking up a waiver wire running back like this. You got to go for the higher upside. That is easily Carson Steele.
Yeah, he's the one I'm excited about of the two of them, but I'm not overly excited about this. I think you're going to see Patrick Mahomes cooking in the passing game because they had their bell cow. It's so depressing for Pacheco because it took him so long to finally get them to trust him with 20 touches a game, and now it's all gone, at least for 6 to 8 weeks. So Carson Steele is the guy I would pick up, but I don't feel like it's not like a normal Kansas City running back that you love to be a part of it. I don't know. He fumbled once yesterday, so that's a little bit just lingering out there as well.
If I had to go with one, I might go to Samaje Perine on this, but I don't know for sure. Honestly, there might be other guys that are worth adding. Honestly, my attention is more on some of the other guys worth adding this week. So let's talk about those. Jack, give me a player that is on your waiver wire week 3 radar.
Oh, this is so easily my boy, Braylon Allen. I love Braylon Allen so much. He's a Wisconsin Badger. I watched him play here for 3 years. He started for this team as a freshman at 17 years old and dominated 3 years of Big Ten football. He gets to the NFL. He's the backup to Breece Hall. People don't think he's going to see the field much. He's still only 20 years old. And he comes in as the youngest position player in the NFL and scores 2 touchdowns here in week 2. Now, he is still the backup to Breece Hall, but the Jets clearly have a vision for him in this offense. He's going to get some opportunities. He had enough to get 2 touchdowns in this game. And he is a guy with size and speed, and he's the kind of player that can make an impact when he's on the field. This is a guy worth picking up, especially if you're a Breece Hall owner. This is going to be one of the most valuable handcuffs in the league. And not to mention, I think he has standalone value even with Breece Hall in there. He's going to be a part of this offense. He's a weapon for this team. And that is not a talent that I would let sit on the waiver wire.
Brian, I'll ask you, who is at the top of your week 3 waiver wire priority?
Yeah, the top one for me, if you can't get Braylon Allen, I do like Braylon Allen a lot, is Quentin Johnston, Los Angeles Chargers. They have to throw somewhere, okay? You're going to have to figure that out. Yesterday, he had 2 touchdowns on 5 catches, around 51 yards. So I'm just leaning there. Justin Herbert can throw the ball, and they have a resurgence in their run game with J.K. Dobbins. Somebody's got to take the benefit of that as far as the wide receiver group. Josh Palmer really hasn't stepped up yet. So Quentin Johnston, I'm going with him.
Week 3 waiver wire, I will start us off with a tight end. That's Hunter Henry. I think that he has some great value. He did not have any action week 1. Could not get enough targets yesterday. Over 100 yards for Hunter Henry. Really looked like the top option for Jacoby Brissett in what seems like an offense that is not nearly as dead in the water as we all thought it might be. I think Hunter Henry definitely has some red zone upside. He's a big target. He looked great yesterday. He looked like a young Gronk yesterday, honestly. Slightly different jersey number, but he was looking really good. I honestly think he's the top target in the Patriots offense. None of the receivers have stood out that much, but I easily think he could get 5, 6, 7 targets a week. And my last one is Jalen Nailor of the Minnesota Vikings. He looked phenomenal. He did have a touchdown, and he's just been getting a ton of work. Also, Jordan Addison's still out. TJ Hawkinson's still out. Justin Jefferson picked up a quad injury. He could be the only one left standing. So I think Jalen Nailor definitely has some value there. A much better passing offense in Minnesota than we also thought. Sam Darnold showing that he can spread the rock around, and I just think that Naylor has a lot of upside for a flex spot week in, week out. And yeah, if maybe you have a very extra roster spot, maybe throw Kareem Hunt on there and see what happens. One other one I see on the list we have here is Alec Pierce. He was a good one after week 1, had a huge game, back-to-back games now with a touchdown and over 15 fantasy points. Anthony Richardson is going to be a risky option every week. So I think Alec Pierce is a guy who will either get 3 points or 20. So take that with a grain of salt. Also, Josh Downs is most likely back after this week. So Alec Pierce might slide down the pecking order another peg behind Pittman and at least Downs, and possibly, more options on that team. So could be good.
I will just say though, two good weeks in a row is nothing to scoff at. He's had back-to-back startable fantasy games. So maybe he slides down the pecking order, but to me, it's worth taking a shot.
Don't forget friend of the show, Mo Alley Cox, either.
No, our favorite 3-name tight end. But I will say Alec Pierce is definitely a guy that if you are going into Sunday losing your matchup because you face James Cook, is a guy that you want to throw in your flex to high ceiling, see if you can get a lot of points back. Because honestly, this season, Alec Pierce has a higher ceiling than Jamar Chase game to game. I mean, he has more points on average and a higher ceiling right now, which is crazy to even actually say without joking about it. So that's that. We got a few things left here to do. We're going to do our week 3 game picks. So, Brian, I'm going to ask you and then Jack just go back and forth just to pick the winner for a game. You will not both put input on multiple games. I'll just ask you and then I'll go to Jack for the next game, so on and so forth. So let's do it. So week 3 game predictions for the NFL. Brian, starting Thursday night, Patriots at the Jets Thursday night.
Jets all the way. They have too much.
All right. Opening up Sunday, Giants at the Browns.
Yeah, I think the Giants are going to struggle with this Browns defense. Give me Cleveland at home.
Cleveland defense should be on everyone's fantasy starting lineup. Bears at the Colts.
Ooh, I like that. Bears. Give me the Bears. I think a strong performance by the Bears. They're ready to rock.
Texans at the Vikings.
That is a tough one with the way that Minnesota's been playing, but I think I have to take Houston. I really like the way they looked on Sunday Night Football.
Eagles at the Saints. Brian.
I knew that was coming. That Superdome is going to be insane. Give me the Saints by a touchdown.
Ooh, okay. Chargers at the Steelers, both 2-0.
I'm taking Pittsburgh, man. I think the Steelers start off 3-0. The defense has been dominant for the first 2 games of the season. I don't see any reason for that to change.
Broncos at the Bucks.
Oh, Bucks by 20.
Packers at the Titans. Still no Jordan Love, most likely.
Yeah, still no Jordan Love, but the Titans' blunders have been too much to overcome so far this season, and the Packers looked okay enough with Malik Willis at the helm. I'm going to stick with Green Bay. I think they find a way to get it done.
Carolina at the Raiders.
One does not just go in to Al Davis's home stadium and win. So give me the Raiders.
Dolphins at the Seahawks without Tua.
Yeah, without Tua makes this one tough. I still think I'm going to take the Dolphins, though. I'm not big on the Seahawks. I know they are 2-0, but they haven't played great teams, and they've struggled with both of them. I think Miami finds a way to get the ball in Tyreek's hands. They find a way to get the ball in Jalen Waddle's hands, and that should be enough.
They also could sign Ryan Tannehill this week.
They very much should do that.
They signed a quarterback. They signed somebody off of
Tyler
somebody's.
Huntley.
Yeah.
No.
They signed somebody off of somebody's practice squad.
Yeah,
today.
Tyler Huntley.
Oh, that's who you're talking about.
Yeah,
Okay.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, Brian, Lions at the Cardinals.
Lions, big bounce back for them. The Cardinals looked good yesterday, but their defense won't be able to hang.
I actually think that there's a chance the Lions offense won't be able to hang with the Cardinals. Their offense usually is really good, but they have started a bit slow. Jared Goff has looked kind of awful when forced to throw the ball. So we'll see how that goes. Ravens at the Cowboys.
Oh, what a game that's going to be.
It actually might be a horrible game, funny enough. Like it could be like a really shit game.
Yeah, but it feels like a good game. I think I'm going to take the Ravens. They're due. They're 0-2. They're fired up. They need to get a win here. And Dallas did not look good against New Orleans. I think I'll take the Ravens.
Yeah, honestly, if the Ravens lose, their season is practically over.
Yeah.
At 0-3,
Yep.
It's very hard to come back from. Niners at the Rams.
Oh, the Niners. The Rams looked so bad last week after, sticking with the Lions. Maybe that means the Lions weren't that good, but I'm going Niners.
All right, Chiefs at the Falcons on Sunday night.
I'd say that was an awesome afternoon slate, by the way. That's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, it
those
is.
are some really good games.
But yeah, Chiefs Falcons. I'm taking the Chiefs. I don't think the Falcons can keep up.
Wow, Falcons get Monday Night Football followed by Sunday Night Football against the Eagles and the Chiefs, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins is an absolute shambles.
All right, and then Monday we got a doubleheader. Bills hosting the Jaguars.
Bills. The Jaguars are the worst coach team in the NFL, and the Bills are a shocker to me how good they've looked, the Bills.
The Jags have also lost their last 7 games started by Trevor Lawrence. So
Right.
going back to last year, they were 8-3, lost out, and then have not won yet. All right, Jack, last game of the week, Washington at the Bengals.
Yeah, I think the Bengals are going to stomp the Commanders. I don't think it's going to be close. The Bengals are ready to break out after a brutal loss at Arrowhead. I got Cincy.
I could actually see a world where Washington wins that game. I could definitely see a world where Jamar Chase continues to throw a fit, not get involved in the offense, and Jaden Daniels goes in there and they kick 8 field goals and win the game.
The Commanders.
Brian Robinson has looked good for the Commanders too.
Yes, but the Commanders' offense struggled against the Giants this week.
No, it's true. But they found a way to win, and that's all that matters.
7 field goals.
I think it's more impressive what they did than they beat the Giants versus losing to the Patriots. I mean,
I don't know.
You don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Those are all of our picks for week 3. Yeah, that all the games starting at 4:25. You have Detroit, Arizona, Baltimore, Dallas, San Fran, and Los Angeles. Those 3 games are going to be very good. You also have Carolina, Las Vegas, and Miami, Seattle in there, which will be not as good, but
Miami's
definitely
a game.
It'll be good to watch Red Zone with more than 3 games. Mm-hmm. So that'll be good.
Yeah, it was weird only having 3 games on. I'm also not a fan of the Monday night doubleheader personally. It's I don't know. It's kind of a lot.
Especially
what are you talking about? It's football. No.
I would rather have.
Y'all are crazy. It starts.
No. I will say I'm not a fan of the doubleheader because they're starting it at 7:30 and 8:15.
Right.
Yeah, I don't like that. I
was going to say if it was like 6 and 8:30 or something, that would be okay. Yeah. I don't get having.
Right. You give
me
in
the end. I just put them both up and I'm watching them.
No, you give me 6 straight hours of football. I'm happy. But the doubleheader with 2 at the same time, that's just annoying.
I mean, the Bills will likely be putting the Jags to bed by the time the next game is going, and then that game will probably not even be that entertaining anyway. I don't know why they chose those as the only Monday night doubleheader of the first several weeks, but
all those kids in Jacksonville are like, "Dad, can I stay up and watch the game?" You're like, "No, that's only if you're punished."
Yeah, definitely. All right, we got 2 things left here for today, and then we'll be wrapping up. So this is gonna be fun. Who had the worst play of week 3 in the NFL? Will Levis's blunder fumble in the red zone, Anthony Richardson throwing into triple coverage multiple times but throwing an interception, Evan McPherson missing the PAT that ultimately lost them the game as they lost by 1 to the Chiefs. So Evan McPherson missing the PAT that was the game deciding point, or Jamar Chase getting a 15-yard flag for complaining at the ref on a play where they moved the ball and were driving down the field on the Chiefs. So who had the worst play of the week?
Go ahead, Jack. I'll give you first round pick.
All right. These are all solid candidates, but I think the worst of all was the Will Levis play. That was one of the biggest what in the world was it? What was he thinking moments I've ever seen in my life in a football game. I was a head scratcher. You saw Brian Callahan going down the sideline looking for him, what the were you doing? It was unbelievable. I don't think anyone knew what he was possibly thinking in that moment. And honestly, that lost them the game. I mean, this was a close game. It was a winnable game for the Titans. They did not play horribly the whole time. And seeing that play, that was the nail in the coffin. That was the end of the game. I don't know what Will Levis could have possibly been thinking. That has to be the worst play of the week.
Yeah, the Will Levis play definitely passes the eye test for just it. Like, what am I actually watching, and how does this happen in modern football? But I'm going to give it to Jamar Chase. I love Jamar Chase. He's my guy from LSU days. He's from New Orleans. He's having a rough couple of months. He didn't get his contract. He's frustrated about that.
Oh, boo-hoo. They're only willing to give you $140 million.
Give me a second. I'm going to get there. Jettis is probably in his ear like, bro, this money is sick. You don't even know. But what a boneheaded play, against essentially your biggest AFC rival over the last 4 or 5 years, and a super winnable game. I'm not saying it's all on his shoulders, but it was just dumb. And, he's a veteran now. He can't make that play.
Yeah, I think the Will Levis one was just so funny because it's like the second week in a row that it happened again. I mean, the one last week was so perfect because he literally was sitting there like, oh my God, what did I just do? And then I just know that whoever is watching film with him in the quarterback room this week is going to just say, so take me through what happened in that play there. Or
thought process.
Some boneheaded reporter to go, Will, what was going through your mind during that play? And he was clearly nothing. So
it's the mayo in his coffee, I'm sure. I mean,
yeah,
that's true. All right, last question of the day. So, who had the best play in the NFL from week 2? Cam Taylor-Britt's OBJ impression on the interception, which was phenomenal. Justin Jefferson taking it 97 yards to the house for a touchdown, and also special shout out to the ref who caught up with him on that play. CD taking it 65 yards to the house and somehow getting out of 2 defenders for the touchdown. Marvin Harrison capping off his first quarter with a 60-yard touchdown. He had 130 yards in the first quarter. Or Rashid Shaheed's 70-yard touchdown, second straight week breaking away for the Saints. Brian, I'll give you the first vote.
So to me, it comes down to either Cam Taylor-Britt's catch or the Jefferson catch. And the Jefferson catch, I really want to give it to the offensive coaches for the Minnesota Vikings, because you have Sam Darnold at quarterback. Take Jack out of it. Nobody in their minds were thinking, let's chuck the ball with Sam Darnold as far as we can and see what happens on this play. Ended up a 97-yard touchdown. That was pretty impressive. And Jefferson did a lot of work to make that happen. He probably ended up running about 210 yards total. So give me Jefferson.
It's also 2nd and 9 from the 2-yard line, and you dial up a deep shot. I mean, that's just that's so insane. Jack, what was the play of the week?
Yeah, I mean, a part of me really wants to pick that Cam Taylor-Britt interception because that was just an unbelievable play. The athleticism to go up and snatch that ball out of the air with one hand, insane. But I'm picking Marvin Harrison Jr. I was, you guys know how much I love Marvin.
Shocker.
Not only was that touchdown, the 60-yarder, unbelievable. The way he burned the defense, the way he stretched out to get the ball over the pylon was awesome. I thought his first touchdown was even more impressive. The way that I saw some sort of analytics that said that they had like a 13% chance of being successful on that play just because of how close Marvin was to the back of the end zone and the way that he went down to get his feet in bounds, the way that Kyler was able to fit the ball in there over the defender. That was, to me, even more impressive. And the fact that Marvin had 2 plays in that game that could potentially qualify as the play of the week, I think you have to just give it as a blanket case to Marvin Harrison in his second professional game, looking unbelievable and looking like the prospect we all thought he was going to be.
I love it. One quick note. I just saw that I totally missed yesterday. Jermaine Johnson of the Jets is done for the season with the torn Achilles.
Yeah, Joe Douglas better be writing a check to Hassan Reddick as we speak.
That is going to be really bad for them. Also, the Chiefs are apparently hosting Kareem Hunt. So we'll see what happens there.
What about the Bills? The Bills are just like nobody believed in them in the preseason. And now they're like running away with the division. The Dolphins lost their quarterback. The Jets quarterback looks super old. No offense, Jack. And then they lose this defensive player.
Yeah, I just
At this rate, the Patriots might not finish last in the East.
Right.
Yeah, the thing with the Bills is just that, like, they're still, to me, their defense is not that impressive, and their offensive weapons are not that impressive. What's been impressive is that Josh Allen, as awesome as we all think he is, he's been even better. He has been out of his mind, absolutely the MVP favorite through 2 weeks for me. And to me, if he gets the Bills into the playoffs with this roster, he's going to win the MVP this year. Yeah, Josh Allen's been unbelievable.
If Derek Carr doesn't throw for 6,000 yards and 40 touchdowns, yeah.
The real question should be, what do we actually do as a collective if the Saints just like actually keep it up for the next like 10 weeks?
Yeah, that would be.
Then you guys are going to have to come down here for a game.
Oh, we will.
Well, they get they do get the Chiefs Monday night, week 5.
In 3 weeks, yeah.
Yeah. Talk about an offensive shootout.
Yeah. They have they have Eagles, Falcons, and then Chiefs. So we'll see.
It's a pretty good stretch for them. Oh my God. Then they get to play the Broncos, Chargers, Panthers, Falcons, Browns, Rams, Giants, Commanders. That is a soft stretch of games.
They did have the second easiest schedule. It was not the first 5 weeks, but it was minus
that
the
is
Panthers.
the benefit of playing in the NFC South.
Right. Well, it may not prove to be, I mean, I'm not going to put the Bucks and Falcons up against any, major Super Bowl contenders, but you could have a couple of 9-8, 10-7 teams out of it.
I'm just surprised that they have like 15 scoring drives and Taysom Hill hasn't really been a part of it.
I know. I know.
Just waiting for that to happen. But I'm honestly glad because I have Alvin Kamara in fantasy. So Taysom Hill, you can
Of course
keep
you do.
your. Also, what's with Derek Carr sneaking a touchdown yesterday when Kamara easily could have had 5?
That's interesting that you say that because I'm watching the game and one of my buddies is like, "Well, I guess this is the tush push." I'm like, Derek Carr never sneaks ever, and sure enough, they did it and he won. They didn't.
Well,
need
it's
the
funny.
tush push,
It was first down too. Like it's not like it was their like last. Like it was just they got it all. Olave got it all the way down to the 1, and then freaking Derek Carr punches it in.
That's why I love it though. It was just so out of nowhere, so unexpected that it worked.
No, it obviously was a good play call, and as a fantasy manager, you can't really be mad because Kamara did have 4 other touchdowns on the day, but like. 5. Actually, it was worse when Kamara had 6, and then they gave Taysom Hill the 7th one. That was that's actually messed up.
Yeah, then he could have tied the record. Yeah.
But whatever. What's actually funny is the last 2 times that Alvin Kamara has played, I think in that stadium, he's had like 10 touchdowns in his last 2 games or something. Or
in Dallas, you mean?
No. Who's the Dallas defensive coordinator? Is it Mike Zimmer?
Yeah. He was the Vikings.
His last 2 games against Mike Zimmer, he has 10 touchdowns because it was against the Vikings where he had 6 and then 4 against the Cowboys. So
that's all.
Yeah,
that's funny. Yeah.
So he probably is not liking watching film of Alvin Kamara. That's for sure.
I'm sure Vikings fans love that game though.
Yeah.
Vikings fans just had a great day yesterday.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they had a good time. All right, that's all we got for today. We will be back on Thursday with our fantasy show. All the questions you need, we'll answer them. Zach will also be live this week on TikTok. So he will be going live doing his weekly power rankings. Jack will be live this Sunday before the game start for any of that last minute start sit advice. I'll probably go live again at some other point throughout this week, either maybe on Wednesday or something else. If you enjoy our content, make sure you join our Discord. Make sure you follow us on social media. We do a lot of fantasy chats in our Discord. If you have questions, they will be answered there. So make sure you go and join our server in the sports chat. And yeah, that's all we got for today. We'll have a good show on Thursday. Go Falcons. And that's all we got for tonight.